Yeah. All right. Well, we're coming in hot and anyway, hey everybody, welcome to Collect Football live episode 18. This is the state of the market for May 2021. Al is here with me again. Al, what's up, buddy?
Hey, Bill. Lots of good stuff, man.
Yeah. We were just talking off air. We both picked up a little bit from the PWCC auction, and we also had the Golden end this weekend. Some people were complaining about our ugly mugs apparently being on the screen, so they wanted us to throw up what we were talking about this time. So
you know what? I totally get that.
Yeah, it's a good improvement. You guys should see what we're talking about. It makes it a little bit more palatable. So I guess before we get rolling on PWCC, was there anything of note with the Golden auction that you can recall?
I mean, I think my biggest take out of the Golden auction, I mean, looking at the mega cards that kind of drive the market, is the fact, that the alpha potentially went a little low to what I think a lot of people thought. I thought that was pretty fair. It was about 52 grand, and that was a PSA 3.
Yep.
The Zidane did stronger than I thought. It ended up at 44,000 in a BGS holder, 9.5. And those holders with no subgrades, those holders have been taking a lot of heat, as we've discussed many times over the last 6 months. So I think that's a pretty epic result for no subgrades and a BGS holder. The Maradona 79 also sold for 22K in a BGS 9.5. So there's a clear, at least as of here, clear premium to the BGS 9.5 over the PSA 9s, holding at this particular moment. And then the Ronaldo PSA 10 rookie, Mega Cracks came in at close to 200, which is not nearly the dip that you saw in so many other sports over, the last 45 days. So, that along with some, modern stuff that kind of, had some relatively big numbers are the big highlights from my perspective on Goldens. The other Messi rookies, did pretty well, closing it at 17,000, and the PSA 10s, that was the 89 and the 62. And then the Henri rookie, the BGS 9, I think sold for like $6,000, which is probably good. There may be some legs left in that card. I think it's a little more rare than I think most people think. The one with the red border, the foot, there's some other ones, the Europa and whatever, but I think that's the premium rookie. And I think there's a little bit of legs left in that based on what he did for his career. So, I mean, those are just some of my high level 35,000 foot perceptions. I don't know. What did you think of Goldens?
Yeah. I mean, I think you kind of echo like what I noticed. I mean, I don't think that, it's interesting, everybody's viewpoints. And I think, some people are more sensitive to the dip than others. So like people feel like, when they see these dips, they're much more worried about it. And I mean, I guess it makes sense. That's going to happen in any sort of market, but, and I guess that leads to a healthy market and that sort of thing. But like, I think that, I was surprised that it didn't dip as much, but I am surprised a little bit at the reaction from a lot of people, at least in our Discord, to that dip. And
I mean, this whole thing, and sorry to interrupt you here,
sure,
is like, a lot of people I think are really feeling it, and I don't know why, because most people I think in the Discord had good entry points. So, I'm a little surprised of it, just the general kind of negative feel. Oh my gosh, the market's down. I honestly think the market's fine. I mean, and in some ways the market's a little bit crazy. That second year Mundi Chromo PSA 10 that sold for like 15,000. I mean, maybe just somebody mistook that for his rookie, and that's just a bad buy. But also the Thomas Mueller PSA 10 was close to $2,000, as maybe it was 17 or 1800, which is also a huge print. So I think you're getting, and then of course, we've been talking in the last few months about the increases in Cruyff cards. And, I don't want to even call these guys second tier because they're not second tier, but not anyone not named Pele, Garrincha, Maradona, right? Which is weird to have Garrincha in that thing.
Yeah, it really is, isn't it?
But he has had a real run in the market, I think, of just association with Pele. So you've got, I think that, the Mueller, goes up. We saw KDB, actually, when we get to the PWCC stuff, go up, and then his rookie closes at 1,300 or 1,400 last night at PWCC, down from 4,000 or 5,000, a few weeks ago, which I think is a good correction. Like, in retrospect, that's maybe a buy on the KDB, given the fact you've got Euros and the Champions League coming up in a couple of days. But, I don't know. I feel like the market is doing really well. Certain things, I think there's disequilibriums, but I like to see some of these second tier guys catch up. The Beckenbauer results, what was that, $3-4 grand for a PSA 4? Even the Cruyff Monty Gum, we had some discussion on this. I think comes in at whatever, close to $4 grand for a mid-grade BGS example, BVG example. So, I don't feel like the sky's falling at all. And in fact, on the contrary, I'd kind of like to see it stabilize a bit more, not have big changes in the market for a while, and, just let it solidify here at this level. So anyway, I interrupted you and then I talked too long. So
no, I mean, that's what we're here for. If you have something to say it, So I was probably ending my comment just more of I'm not. I understand it if you're a flipper. That's going to be a struggle for you, right? Because now all of a sudden you're net negative on some of the things that you've just acquired. But if you're a collector, if you're a long-term investor, I see this as a positive. I'm going to be able to get stuff cheaper. I'm very much I didn't buy a lot yesterday, but I bought more than I bought in the last month. How ridiculous is that? Mine, that wasn't $10 cards or whatever, but so I feel like now's the time where I'm going to start paying attention again more, because I think you and I were in that same boat. When it got into February, March, it's what are we even doing? You and I really just didn't have the motivation to be buying much, except for specific cards.
And as we mentioned in our premium chats that we do every week, for the last 45, almost 60 days, I think, we didn't buy a single thing off of eBay or PWCC. It was all private sales from overseas, basically. So where there's that arbitrage opportunity. We basically had stopped buying since the heights at the end of January, through basically last month. There was some stuff I got,
but no major purchases, nothing like that.
Yeah, not jumping in, full steam. And so I think now it starts to get more interesting as things recalibrate to decide, what we want to do. And then, one effect that the prices have that not a lot of people talk about, if their perception of dipping is that people won't sell as much. And so there's a normal slowdown in supply. And then as you're letting demand build, that's how markets recover.
Yep. Agreed. PJ just chimed in. I can't believe I'm such a nerd that I'm watching two other nerds talk about old soccer cards. Thanks, PJ. We love you.
He's just trying to escape from his diapers that he's changing.
Okay, so now I've just lost my train of thought.
So that was my big takeaway on Golden. I thought it held up really well. Some of the modern autographs, not that we get in there that much, did really well. That Eminence, what was it? Ronaldo cleared 10 grand.
Yeah.
I think there was some other stuff that I was trying to get to go for that I got, not just outbid on, but blown out of the water, multiple bids higher than I wanted to do. So, I think I am literally not concerned at all. This is after Golden, and then after PWCC, which is where you're going to show your screen.
Yeah.
Again, I'm not concerned. I think on the net, I think some certain things have maybe fallen more than what I think they should. But again, I'm not the market. The market decides where things should go, and the market will go there. So nothing shocked me except for a little bit the volatility in KDB.
And Lewandowski. That was a stunner.
Where did the 10 end up?
Yeah, we'll get there because I'll scroll through this a bit and we'll stop at some things that we see along the way. But I think that was at like 5,600 or something like that, and it sold for 14 grand, like and it was right after he scored his 41st goal to break Muller's record, and like it's just such a weird moment. Like that blew my mind that's what it went for, but
But I do feel like I feel like that sticker is not as scarce as people think. Yeah, maybe in that grade, but even still, there's 6 of them now, and I want to go back 6 months ago, and I don't think there were any. And I think that I know myself, I have a few at PSA, so they'll trickle in at some point here over the next year. So I don't necessarily blame someone for not paying 14, 15 grand for a PSA 10 that the pops are going to go up, that while he's great, while he's broken the records, he's still not Messi and Ronaldo.
Yeah.
So I don't know. I feel like 5,600 is a fair price if you can conceptualize fair in your mind. I mean, I don't know. It was a huge drop off, just like KDB. He was selling for 4 or 5 grand or something, and his went for like 1,300. I think that was also a big drop.
Yep. But that goes along the same lines, right? Like, I mean, it's very much that these cars there's a lot of them. I mean, yes, they're not as out there as some other cards or other stickers, but at the same time, it's not like they're impossible to obtain either.
Yeah, and the KDB ones I think are more difficult, ironic, maybe just because Belgium's a smaller country than Poland. So, I think that those are slightly more difficult, but again, this is based on subjectivity. I haven't gone and looked at the pop reports. That's just my feeling. And, when you look at him, you're like, okay, he's got a chance. He's got a chance to win Champions League on Saturday, and he's got a legitimate chance to win the Euros with Belgium, right? So, and Lewa doesn't have a chance to win either one of those things. So,
right.
I don't know. I mean, I know that's a short-term view, but I think those are kind of crowning achievements.
And let's be honest, like this is literally the pinnacle of what Lewandowski's gonna, do in his career, right? Like this is it. And so, like, now that that's been, obtained,
what else is there?
Yeah, that's that. So
yeah.
All right, so
we got sidetracked. So let's go talk about one of, which is usual, right? Some of Everton's best goal scorers, who actually doesn't he still have the Premier League single season record, like 60? I don't know. I have to go check this out.
He does have, he has 60, but like, I mean, didn't Messi have a year where he scored more than that? But it's obviously not the.
Yeah, it wasn't Premier League though.
Oh, right. That's not the league. I don't know. Was his all in the first league, or was it?
I think
that's just what he scored in the season.
I think it was, but I can be totally.
Yeah. Regardless.
Anyway, since you had it on your screen, I figured that was a kind of smooth tie-in.
Yeah. Well done. So like this card's been up at PWCC, like, or a copy of this card has been up for like the last 6 months, right?
Yeah.
The first one was an 8. I think it went for a lot. Like, didn't it go for in the thousands?
Yeah, or high hundreds, I think. And that's when we told everyone not to do that.
Yeah. And now we've seen like this many copies. It's like each month, whoever had these in their vault just keeps submitting one. So,
which
smart.
actually I think it's a good deal.
Yeah.
You know, I think, and Stanley Matthews too, like in retrospect, again, you can't bid on all these cards. It would take like a full-time job just to play snipes on this stuff. But if you tell me you can get a Stanley Matthews 2.5 rookie for $160, I take it all day long.
Yeah, I was actually second bidder on this, on the Matthews, because I just figured like exactly that. Like if I would buy a raw one that looks like that for that price. So,
and that was a great looking 2.5.
Yeah, I was surprised. Like I couldn't find why it was only a 2.5.
I think there's a dot of paper loss on the back, but I mean,
Okay.
it looked great.
Yeah. So I appeal. You can't beat that for that price. So
this is the first one that I won right on your screen, the Sindelar.
Yeah, right here.
Yeah.
Okay. Well, congratulations.
Yeah.
So that's a rare one.
Yeah. He doesn't have many cards. You know, it's in action. Some people don't like that. The back is super simple. But the Ilsa Sweets is just a tough issue. Real tough issue. Any of these Eastern European issues are tough. And so you just don't see them all that much. I don't know. I didn't even check the PSA Pop report, but can't imagine there are many of those. And those are the types of cards that I'm picking up for my collection now that I just don't have, filling in holes of things that, you know, are a little bit tougher to find. And I'm not sure, you know, many people fully understand the full calibration of what's difficult and what's not in the market.
Oh, I agree. And I think that that's where there's inefficiencies, and that's where you can, you know, find some deals just because of the lack of, you know, experience for people to make those judgments.
Yeah.
So it says just one graded higher than the 4 that you bought. So
yeah. So you know, I'm betting there's probably less than 10, I would guess.
Graded, I would agree. Yep. All right. So we got some 38 Churchmans, which are uber common cards. Are about as common as you can get for vintage soccer, I would say.
Yeah, and those are going for what you'd expect, the price of grading, more or less.
Yeah, exactly. This one was an interesting one, the Nils Liedholm, and just a 48, which is an earlier one of his than you see usually.
Yeah, and that's that Chicle Tabe is a Spanish issue. And you know, the thing that this card, I think I was the underbidder on this, has against it is that there's no, you know, there's really no way to identify, you know, the players outside of the book.
Yeah.
So you know, while they have it in the title, and I think that they're right, and these are, you know, good star players, you know, at this particular time, it's just hard to, with a slab like that, it's really hard on resale.
Yep, that makes a lot of sense. I did bid on that, so I was the underbidder maybe. All right, the Torres.
I think that was a strong price, didn't you think?
Yeah, I mean, it looks good for a 2.5 in my opinion. Because a lot of these are just destroyed because of the chocolate on them.
Mm-hmm.
You know, that's a clean back. I mean, maybe it was soaked or something. I don't know, but that looks amazing for a 2.5. And you don't see that card graded very often. So I think that, yeah, there's not a lot of 53 Di Stefanos getting sold. You know, it's graded. You know, and he's one of those guys that we keep harping on and saying is undervalued. So I think that all of those combination, you know, gave us a reasonably strong price.
Yeah. I thought that it would be south of 500.
Yeah, that's where I was thinking too, like 450, 500, maybe.
Yeah.
If somebody got saucy, maybe 550. But
yeah,
at that point, what's another 150, 160 bucks?
Yeah, especially if you don't have one. I mean,
yeah,
the problem that we have, right, is that you're like, okay, every time we're bidding, well, not every time, but a large majority of the time we're bidding on duplicates. So that totally recalibrates thing. And I can see why someone would really want that card. It's got a nice yellow background. It's got a pretty cool back. It comes from chocolate. You know, I don't know. So I don't have a problem with that trade. I actually think it's strength. I notice you also, when we get to the 63 Panini, that one actually went really well as well. De Stefano, it was a PSA 7, I think. So
yeah, and we got a comment in here, Low Hurley. I won that tablet actually, so congrats on that buy. Did a lot of comparing of pictures to try and make sure that's who was on there. So hey, did your job, and that's a good card to have. A Swedish great on there. So I think that's a good ad, especially at that price.
yeah, I think it's good. I mean, the sucky thing is every time you're going to have to prove that it's those players because the slab doesn't have it, and so that's a. But if it's for the collection, awesome pickup because you get a couple of really, really great players from the 30s on a really tough issue, frankly.
Yeah, I haven't seen hardly any of that issue, to be honest. So
yeah, they actually, since I do boxing as well, there's a bunch of other boxers in that set.
Okay.
So I know that set really quite well.
Okay. There was a couple other comments. I don't know. We're gonna get sidetracked, so I mean, if you're okay with that, let's do like a 5-minute sidetrack here. Chalos 911 asking about the market. Concerned about in a year or two when the economy collapses, or things will this be bad for cards? Well, I mean, if there's a monster collapse, I would say the answer is yes. That's probably for any asset class with the exception of gold. And and even probably that a little bit, right?
Yeah.
So
yeah, I mean if you're betting that the economies are going to go to hell, that bubbles are going to burst, yeah, I mean the problem is there's no place to hide in that scenario, right?
Correct.
I mean it hits everything. So I'm not disproportionately concerned about soccer cards than any other thing that I would put my money on, from stocks to gold to cryptos. So I'm not losing sleep over that, but
it's nothing you can control unless you pull it all into cash, right? Like that's the only way. And then the opportunity cost is so major.
Yeah, and we've got inflation, so you're so.
And you think you think there's not going to be just money being printed left and right? I mean, they just saw what happened when they do that. Nothing.
Yeah. So, yeah. So,
but we could get into a whole different conversation with that. But
but I think this is an important piece. I do believe, Bill, that if we would, I mean, based on what we've seen right now, we saw the Jordan sell for 700, and we saw the Ronaldo sell for 230, and then we saw the Jordan start selling the 300s. Right now, I think the next one's like 450 or something less. I can't remember where it is, but keep
in mind everybody was selling their Jordan.
Yeah, it's and then the Ronaldo, which we've seen now 3 or 4 of them come of the 40 that are out there. So again, everybody who has a 10, 10% of them, which for the Jordans would be a lot more than we've seen, and it's still sticking here, right? So. And I think generally, if you map them all, there's going to be some people that ho hum. Oh, the Alpha 2 sold for 50,000, a few months ago, and now the Alpha 3 is selling for 50,000. It's like, I mean, that's not that big a deal. It's within the margin of error.
Correct. And you and I because this is the interesting thing, and it's sometimes that I forget this. Like when we have these conversations. You and I have been dealing with the vintage soccer market for so long. So we kind of understood the animal, right, before everything happened this last year, where everybody that maybe doesn't have that experience, had some warped view of what the vintage market is. And so if you're not going to see vintage cards go up 30% every year. That's just not possible. The only way you do that is if we keep getting 30% more people involved in the hobby every year. And that's how vintage values go up. Once people realize the value of vintage, it's now what pushes it is is additional people interested in these items. And so it's the demand portion. So, you know, if you're in it for the short term, if you're worried about a crash, I mean, then you need to be worried about everything, right? Like you need to be worried about all of your assets. So, I mean, maybe if that is your thought and that's going to happen, pull some off, like that's what I would do if I had that concern.
Yeah. If you've put your rent money into cards to make sure you can make a little extra every month, that's a dangerous proposition. And
Correct.
that's not anything that I or Bill or any financial advisor would recommend is prudent. I chastise one of the kids in our, and not kids, but, members in the Discord, who was flipping and making 10% on a flip. And I was just pointing out, and I'm like, listen, if that's your MO, you're going to get hurt in the long run, right? Because at some point when there's a market gyration, you're going to pay too much, and you can lose 30, 40, 50, 60. I mean, if you bought messy 35s 2 months ago, I mean, you're down 60, 70%.
Yeah.
Right. So if you're only making 10% on your flips, it's you're not going to be able to sustain some of these losses, which are inevitable in markets to go up and down. So, anyway, I what I would point out, which I think is important, is that the vintage part of the soccer card market has held up remarkably well in what has been a recalibration across the board. Now, it's probably because it started so disproportionately low. It got up, and still there was a huge gap left to go relative to, basketball and some of these other things that, how far back down can it go? Because these other changes, the differences between, the supply demand versus the supply in some of the other sports is just totally different. So, anyway, again, for me, I still think it's a great place to be, and I'm not actively selling at all.
And my kind of where I was going with that about our experience over the last 10 years is you would see an item that you wanted. Maybe you end up getting outbid and it's a pretty high price. And then the next card comes out 4 months later and you get that card for 75% of the previous price. And that's just how it worked. So like, it wasn't always a step to the next price each time the card was, sold. So it was truly unnatural, almost like what was happening. Like
it was such a thinly traded market. It's like the OTC market in stocks where it's just this crazy price. It's funny. I was just looking back and I paid like $600 for the PSA 9 1970 World Cup Pele sticker, international multi-language back. And then I was, just researching that other day, yesterday really. And I saw that a PSA 8 traded for $200 like 2 years ago.
Yeah.
Right. And that's just, you could, that's basically the story. You could buy $1,000 card and then 2 months later, see it at 400 because there were so few eyeballs on this stuff, and you can't search for everything all the time. And when there's only, 50 collectors, people are going to miss things and people are going to get deals. But if a few collectors found the same card at the same time, then it would get bid up to, more close to a market price. And now I think we're seeing, many more of these things getting marked up to the market price, but we're also seeing the market change its perceptions very quickly.
Yeah. And I mean, once you got up to these like really high prices, I mean, you're not getting, it's almost the equivalent of back in the day when it was you and me bidding against each other on an item, right? Like you only had the two people that were willing to pay that price for it. And so like, that oftentimes that next card will sell for less because another new set of eyes hasn't come in that wants to battle for that next item. And then, maybe nothing gets released for 5-6 months, there's new people that are paying attention. All of a sudden the price is above what the first one sold for. So like that's just how it works. So don't get too caught up in the minutia of, sale A to sale B to sale C. Just look at the trends long term and feel good about where it's headed. I guess is.
Yeah, and I would generally also add to this that the vintage collector puts more focus on eye appeal.
Mm-hmm.
So like just grading something on a 1 or a 2 or a 3, there's very big differences. Especially if we look at some of these Aquarellas that are coming out. You're like, wait a second, the last one sold for this, and then why is this one selling for that? It's like, well, take a look at it. It looks like trash, right? Speaking of that Garincha has got a beautiful front.
Yeah, it looks gorgeous.
Yeah, but the back is completely shredded.
Yeah, there's like, you can see like, on the edges, there's just so much ink loss. Like it's crazy.
There's so much ink loss that there's no way that gets more than a PSA 2.
Right.
Now the front is amazing. It's awesome for a display card, super important card. So, there's nothing, I don't want to say anything bad about the card because I love it. In fact, I bid on it, but I just couldn't get myself ahead of a PSA 2 on this one. Just because it's great front, eye appeal, but the back is, and look at, I think that if you think of that as a PSA 2, $5,000 for a Garincha PSA 2, which what we've considered is going to likely be his rookie considered.
Yeah,
but there's 1954s and there's 1953s as well. So when you calibrate like that, I'm like, that feels like a decent price.
Yeah, I don't hate the price, honestly. I think that's in the zone of reasonableness. So yeah, I dig it. So like, I think it's interesting. Like I've really been paying attention to the quality of the cards, compared to the grades, at least in this auction, because I figured the prices were going to come back down. So I was just inspecting them more. And I think there's a lot of value to be found in these Beckett and SGC cards at the moment, just because people are so grossly overvaluing PSA in comparison, or at least discounting the other two. You know what I mean?
Mm-hmm.
So onto this PSA 6 Charlton. That's a good return, 1,700 for a 6.
Yeah, I didn't really have a problem with this. I think I may have thrown in like a marker. Maybe I get lucky for 1,200 or something. It's a great card, classic. So many people love it. So I think the buyer of that's going to be happy in the long run, as well as these Bremers. Looking back on these, I think these are going to end up being really good ones, especially the Heinerley image. It has a tear on the back.
Yeah, this one looked worse than this one.
Yeah, but it's such an iconic image, right? That I still think it's a decent price.
I agree. Like I was like in the I think top 3 bidders for the Vava one.
Vava one,
yeah. It looked like a really clean card. Like the backs was pretty clean. I mean, the 2 actually surprised me coming from Beckett.
Yeah, I know. I'm like, oh boy, there's got to be something. So I'll let you talk about these because you're the famous, all these mislabeled. 1958 Cadet Suites.
So the history with these is that PSA didn't know what they were doing until content creators started talking more about it, and then everybody started talking about it, and then they accepted that what they had labeled these was not correctly, and so they were labeled as 1958. When you look at the back of this card, and it's the small back, which it doesn't take up the full back of the card, so it's a 1959. So were they both labeled that way?
Yeah, I think they both were.
So these were both mislabeled, and I think an 8 for his second year. I think that's a little hefty price. And And unfortunately, there was probably some people that didn't really realize that that was not his rookie card. And
yeah, and same with the Jimmy Graves is also a 59.
Okay, because I don't like I kind of stopped paying attention to these, just because I have so many of them. But yeah, so like just be careful if you guys are watching this and you haven't heard me babble on about it.
Don't you have a video on this?
Yeah, I talked about it early on when I was doing my videos. It's probably in the first 2 or 3 videos I did. If you go to the CollectFutbol account and go to the earliest videos, I gotta say I probably did it in the first or second video, to be honest.
Yeah, I think that's right. You did it right.
So just be careful when you're buying those. That if you're holding the card and you turn it and you looking at it, that the bottom, like the back, is upside down when compared with the front.
That's the one you want.
Yeah, you want the inverted back. That's what they call it. So just be careful, and when you buy any of those, that you're not buying the wrong year, because the fronts all look very similar between 58, 59, and 60. On to the next group of mislabeled cards. Some conversations of this is a 1960, not a 1958. On the back, it talks about a match against Tottenham, I believe, where he scored a goal, and that wasn't until after 1958, so it couldn't be 1958. So be careful on these as well, for Bobby Charlton at least.
Yeah, I mean, that Stanley Matthews super far from his rookie.
Yeah, that's right.
So I think that's fine, but it's I mean, it still felt high. Like I looked at this and I'm like, yeah, it's PSA 9. These come in higher grades generally.
Yes.
And I would way rather have the 2 of the rookies that we talked about earlier as opposed to this near end of his career cards. But it is a cool looking card.
Yeah.
Another thing people don't understand is these are not in standard holders. So they're larger holders. Yeah, which, if it doesn't fit in a box, it to me it decreases.
It loses some value there for sure, because everything has to be laid on its side then. All right, so now we're here to the Aquarellas. These things are just the super active trading with these things, because there's
and I'd say these are all blowout numbers. I know that some people are like, oh man, they're slightly down from some of the others. I honestly think these are fantastic numbers.
I was actually stoked when I saw the 14K for the 4. That's pretty fantastic result compared to what we're seeing with the cards that we believed were, shooting up high. Like, we were surprised at how much they shot up, right? So we were surprised at the Aquarella Pele's, a lot of the Messis, that sort of thing. That we saw some softness. I mean, this doesn't show a lot of softness, in my opinion.
No, and by the way, there was one we didn't talk about in Golden, a 6 that went for 41K as well. So, you're getting, whereas I think those of us that have been around this space for a long time have always said Aquarella is probably the most common Pele. And, Quiegel was number 1 for the very longest time. And then, the Alfia was, a step below it. And then, Quiegel was just, Aquarella was just down here at the bottom. And it's really, really come on strong. Now, the only thing I'd say, these results for me are super strong. I would say that in general, even though awesome eye appeal, great image, love it. My bet is we fast forward 2-3 years out and the pop on this is looking to, surpass even the record. So, I'm thinking that we end up with 300, 400, 500 of these graded, and I think it's likely to be, for my eyes and my feel of everything that I see through the day, through my WhatsApp daily meetings and all that stuff. Messages. I just got a feeling this one's going to be the most easy to get Pele rookie, which doesn't mean don't get it. It just means, be cognizant that we're going to probably see way more supply in this than we're going to see in some of the others.
Okay, and so to follow up on that, do you think that's a bad thing? Because, we've had these conversations before where these cards are so rare, like all of them, and to use 300 or 400 as like that's a lot. Like that's a lot in when we were talking about vintage soccer, like which is just mind blowing when you think about it. Like all these other like modern cards, but
yeah, they
like,
have their serial number to 2,500 and still worth $5,000. And you're like, wait a second, 2,500, right?
That's awesome. But point being is like, like so 400, like the liquidity of it and seeing transactions all the time and all of that, they're
that no doubt helps. But I do think that when you get, I think this is exactly what we're seeing with the Messi rookies. When you do get corrections,
sure,
because there's supply, and because what happens in a correction, it's not that supply changes, it's demand goes away.
Right.
So when you get a correction, if demand goes away, those things take a bath because there are so few out there. Let me give you the other side. A Puskas rookie is really hard to price because it hasn't really traded much.
Right.
But in a downturn, if you have a Puskas rookie, you're still probably going to be able to get close to a price that would be acceptable to you because, 100 of them aren't going to come out of the woodworks and suddenly be for sale. So I think it plays both ways. On up markets and in stable markets, that volatility, that constant sale is going to help this card. But for the longer term in corrections, I'd be a little nervous about going too far long into this card.
So, but stronger hands, that's not like, let's just say like if you plan to only that you're able to wait until an upturn, then there's really no negative to it, right? But it's if you need to move something, you're going to take a bigger hit.
Yeah, if you are getting into this at a fair price, absolutely, right? If the last 5 PSA 2s sold for 2,000 and now it's sold for 5,000 like this, and you're buying in at 8,000, I'd be more nervous.
Sure.
And that's the other thing with these is if you want one, I would just wait till you find the one that you like, because there is a lot of variability in the smudges on the back, in the some of the edges aren't as clean as others. Some of them have damage on the front and the face, so I'd steer clear from those, because you don't need to get them because these will show up all the time. So if it's on your list, be picky and get the one that you want.
Yep. Especially on the downturn.
Yeah.
So, all right, let's scroll higher.
Those surprised me, those Grinches. I didn't get those.
So, a member of our Discord was really aggressive in acquiring all of them.
The Quiggles, right?
Yes, the Quiggles.
Yeah.
He wanted them, and he's going to hold them, and he thinks they look great, and he, I can't argue with it, Yeah,
I mean the Jurgela Santos went for like $700.
Yeah, that was the one that people took notice of, right?
Yeah, because I mean, look he's all-time great. Don't get me wrong. I mean, that was on my top 10 cards that I wanted out of this auction, but I was nowhere willing to go that high. I think that it just motivated me to go through my boxes of Quiggles and see which ones to grade. That's what happened to me after this.
Well, see, you got something out of it.
There you
go. The authentic Pele Quiggle went for 4,700,
and that one was
hit.
That was beaten, right?
Yes.
I just, I couldn't even, I couldn't get myself to bid on it really. Look at the back too.
Yeah, so there's paper missing. There's like a side of the paper missing.
And sometimes you can get through it. On this particular one, for whatever reason, I couldn't. But
yeah,
I don't think it's a terrible buy.
No, I don't either. Like, I mean, it's still one of those Peles that are in the constellation. You and I value it less personally. I don't know if that's just because I never really bought into it at the start. Like when you and I were doing it early, you know, that was never one of my favorites. So like, but I can't, it's still in that 58 to 60 Pele, you know, where from South America, you know, all of these positives that to get it. And I mean, I think you got to pay $5,000 for any of the like titulares, you know, anything that's what you're going to have to pay for one now. So
Yeah. And I, you know, personally, I love the image. He's smiling. A lot of them have foggy, non-sharp images where you can't really make out the face. It's like the double printing shifted. So I tend to steer away from those myself. But this particular one was okay. And you know, it's been a while since we've seen a ton of nice, high quality Queagles. I think the last one was the Rally one, which, by the way, continues to languish at 60% sold on the IPO. So people aren't buying into the Rally PSA 8, which is probably overgraded, you know, Queagle either. So, you know, it's a sign of the market, I'd say.
Yeah. It's, I don't know. I don't even want to get talking about Rally.
Okay. All right.
It just seems like they're just fucking up a potentially amazing opportunity. But all right, so we get into some 58 WS Verlags, you know, cheap compared to 2 months ago.
Yeah.
You know, I bought this one here, the one with Garincha, Pele, and Yashin. I just wanted to have the card. I don't have any copies of it, so.
And the one above it is really nice too.
Yeah, I like that one.
Yeah, I think these were really cheap versus where they had been the last couple months. So, you know, I think it's smart to pick these up.
Yeah. So, here's 59 Cadet Suites, which graded an 8.5. So this one SGC graded properly.
Yeah, those were all graded properly from what I recall.
So this is obviously a newer slab, and see, that shows you it says it is 59. It's correct. It has a small back. So similar grade, selling for less than the 58. So somebody got a little bit, you know, duped. Excuse me. Heinerly Pele, 1.5. I didn't do a ton of inspection on this.
Yeah, that one I think had a really bad back.
Okay.
But the one above it was a pretty significant decrease from where that card had been in a 4. You know, previously, I think the last ones were, I don't know, 6 to 8K from what I remember. So, you know, that's I feel like those were tough. They're cards, you know, they're, you know, the corners are really tough.
Yes.
You know, I think that's actually a decent buy in this market.
Yeah, I agree. I think getting anything over a 3 in these Heinerlies is actually a really good buy. This Vava 5.
Actually, that kind of surprised me that it went for, that may be the highest price I've seen for a Vava.
Oh, no doubt. For me, yeah, I agree. It's actually nice to see. Like, I don't think it's out of line, especially just, I think a lot of this is buying the grade of the card. You know what I mean? So a PSA 5 Heinerly, you don't see a lot of them. So
yeah.
These Hemmets, man, they keep coming.
Yeah, and there's a ton of these, and you know, if you pick either the Stefano or the Garincha, you'll see on the back. Yeah, just show the backs, because it's one thing people I don't know, not sure they know. You see how they're kind of cut out and completely just looks bizarre because it's just not truly intended to be cut this way. So I don't like these cards. I mean, the front's cool on both this and the Garincha, but I actually made the decision to kind of get rid of these for me because it feels like something's wrong with them. Again,
yeah, they come in a sheet of 4, and it's got punch holes for an album that you put into like almost like a photo album.
Yeah,
and you know, these are all hand cut. So I do have a few. They're all at PSA to get graded. So
Yeah, I
You
mean, I
know,
have a few.
whenever this seller runs out, guess who's going to be selling?
Yeah, I mean, and you know, this is the same with the Muhammad Ali, which is selling for crazy money, and I just look at this and I'm like, it just doesn't do it for me. In the same way that the Gazetta it just doesn't feel like this should be cutting in a slab to me.
Yeah,
Not how it
and
was
that's a
really intended.
preference thing, and you know, it's
Yeah.
not bad for like an early card of Grincha if you can get one for $100 graded. I mean, you know, if that's what you can afford and that's what you want to do, and you like the card, I like the image.
Yeah,
There's not
again,
a
the
ton of
front,
them in his club, you know, uniform. So
yeah, I mean, for a display item, I like these.
yeah, but yeah, I agree. There are some things working against it. This was a surprise compared to costs. I mean, it doesn't surprise me, but like these were blowing up over the last 3 months.
Yeah.
The Miroir Sprint, like
Yeah, that was low. I think the Stellas were kind of high. The ones below. I think the what I call the mirror, but Miroir, if you want to say it, was really
I don't
low.
know. I'm
Yeah,
just
I don't know
trying to.
either, but you know, and then the ones above are like not breaking a grand. You know, those had been on freaking fire. Now I know
Yeah,
that low grade, but still, that any grade was going for big money. You know, the last couple months. You know, I'm okay with this. It feels to me roughly calibrated. I mean, these are early 60s. They're not super uncommon. They're not really, you know, really hard to find. Cool images. I like them, but not, you know, exceedingly rare. So, you know, I think they're. It feels to me like it's settling into the market in a good place.
yeah, I agree. And I mean, looking at the prices of these, this is kind of the hierarchy of where I would place them too. So
Yeah, I think there is a little bit of natural selection fallout falling in, which is great. You know, I think that's exactly what we need for a healthy market. The next couple surprised me, especially this the Pele at $2,000. I mean, I have a couple of these cards, not a super common album, but that really shocked me because you're talking 1962. You know, I would have expected that to be 1,000, you know, 800 to 1,200 ish. And so to see it at $2,000, that again, sign of strength.
you know, I wonder if, you know, there's been a lot of items, not a lot, but there's been more items from Chile than I have seen in quite a while. And I feel like there's, you know, it can't be that common, any of the issues from there, right?
Yeah.
Like,
Yeah.
so, I mean, I get it. It's a World Cup year, you know, that sort of thing. So there are going to be more made probably. But I think getting anything from Chile is actually pretty safe in my opinion. I mean, that's $2,000's hefty, but I think that when you look at it that way, I'm totally fine adding something like that because we're not going to see that as much as those cards we just saw prior to.
Yeah. I mean, you know, would I rather have this than the German ones that are going to be in every PWC auction for the next 5 years? Yeah.
Yeah.
You know, so 1 times, 2 times, 3 times, I don't know, but it did shock me a bit.
Sure.
That
I
the
get
market that the market was so, you know, into this, but you know, then again, the World Cup's in Chile in 62. I just got to believe there's more of these out there, and I think this auction may be a catalyst to having some people digging through their stuff and seeing if they can find them.
I hope they do. All right, so
I think I was an underbidder. Speaking of that, on that Bobby Charlton right there, because I just thought the image was kind of fun, and you've seen a few Pele's on the 62. One below, yeah, that's San Diego. You've seen a few of the Pele's and Garinchas go in the last few months.
Yeah, so like this was actually, you know, I was a little surprised that, I mean, $53 for something that's reasonably scarce
and graded already, right?
Yeah.
I mean, remember, to get something graded is going to end up being $30 afterwards. So I looked at my thing and I'm like, I bid whatever 52.50, and I'm like, why? I should have just bid $80. May not have still won it, but basically my philosophy, I think, is going to change. That hey, if there's something reasonably rare, it's already graded, probably instead of thinking 50, I'll be starting thinking 70 or 80.
Yeah, I think that's probably gives you a lot better shot at least. So these, paninis, the 63 paninis, I was surprised this got a 7 based on the centering, but I love the card or sticker. So like the Di Stefano, great image, it's good price too. I mean,
this is a relatively common sticker, not common in this grade for sure. I think given that it's 63 towards the end of his career, I kind of expected this to be sub 500, but I think people are buying slabs too, right? It's a great card, great image, and to have a 7 in this card is huge. Just like and then this is where you see the disconnect in the Eusebios, the PSA 5 versus the BVG 7, right? There's that famous 2 grade plus discount. You got the BG, which actually was a nice, if you looked at the card on the 7, it actually looked really good. It looked sharp, it looked clean. But the market's now discounting BVG by at least 2 grades, which I think is generally correct. In this particular case, if you analyze those 2 cards, I think the BVG one is the one that I would take.
I agree with that. So I think that the same buyer bought all 3 of these.
And looking at these, you say, hey, you can pick up all 3 of these and the one above for 650 or what? Oh, it was 1,500. Wow, maybe 650 was my snipe. You didn't
get it.
Yeah, I didn't get it. I was wondering why I didn't get that email. I think these are all really good, pickups. Just remember the 63 is not his rookie.
Right, but I think that you will see a lot of people drawn to it because that's the first like truly attainable issue of his.
And it's first Panini.
Yep. So all of those are working for this sticker. So this was quite a surprise to me. I remember in my first group, my buddy and I bought a bunch of cards off a guy in Germany, and that was included in it, and he sold it as a 62 Eusebio rookie. And my buddy was so pissed because he spent like $40 on it, and when he found out that it wasn't a rookie,
he wasn't a rookie. He's like, oh no, wait, hey, I think I showed you last time, or did I show you the yellow one? All right, I had to at least have told you about it.
The Panini one, right?
Yeah, the yellow nameplate one.
Yep, that's phenomenal.
Yeah, so
I can't say I've ever seen one.
Yeah, so that one has been on my list.
You should bring that to the National
for a long time. Yeah, I mean, so good. And just having so many of the blues and then getting the yellow. Wow, this one's nice too. I'm just looking through the stuff. I'm like, some nice stuff in here.
Oh, yeah.
I'll do a little
rub in our face. Jeez.
There's a little Queagle, It's a show and tell. Here's a Zico 71.
Nice.
What else we got? What other goodies? Yeah, I think I showed you this one, right?
Oh yeah, the Colonial.
Yeah, Di Stefano. Anyway, I just picked up this stack, but the that yellow one is awesome, and I love the blue one. I mean, I honestly, when I looked at the closing prices, I'm like, I probably should have bought all those Eusebios because I think they're decent prices. I don't think I would have gone so far and I did have a snipe on the Ruiz Romero, but because it would have been an upgrade for me, but I think that's getting a little far above the skis on that one, but it's rare. So
yeah. All right, so I'm gonna scroll up to when we get into like the early 70s or the Cruyffs.
What did you think about those Pele, the first Pele Paninis right there?
Um,
Because
I
thought
mean, they're a lot
6,
less than they were selling, right?
yeah, that's 6 for $800. I thought
yeah, that seems like a good deal for sure.
Now, it wasn't great. It looked like it was an overgraded 6 to me.
I agree.
But what's the one on top of it? It's the
BVG8.
Yeah, and so that one went to where we had been seeing the so this is a complete disconnect for me, but the 8 did look legitly like a real good card, and the 6 was a little soft. So I do like the fact that people are looking at the cards and bidding on the card and the slab and adjusting it. But I was pretty happy to see, because that 8 was way better than the 6. But if you're just buying the slab, the 6 was a better deal.
Agreed. This is a good way to get a cheap Beckenbauer and Mueller rookie team card. 7 for $225. So look around for those if you're interested. 65 Bergman Beckenbauer 4, $3,000. I mean, says just 2 graded higher. So I mean, that's a good card. I mean, you don't find a lot of them that are graded above a 2.
Yeah, I mean, the one thing that I was trying to educate people on this one, this particular copy has a line right down the right-hand side.
Yeah, I'm going to pull it up. You can see it on the Zoom.
Yeah, that little black line. And that little black line, and if you look at this edge really carefully, to my eyes, it gets slightly uneven on the hand cut, because this is a hand cut.
Yep.
And so this, while most of these come out of packs, this is one that was in the album and hand cut. So because of that, I think they're rarer than the ones in pack, but I prefer them less. So just so you know, I mean, again, have your own preferences, collect what you like, but that is kind of a nuance that a lot of people in the market don't know.
Yeah, I was unaware of that, honestly. So learned something today.
And then the other one that has the 1965 Monty Gum. So when this card was graded, Alan Sight and most people in the hobby, had this listed as a 1965. I forget the exact reason why, which player. Later, they recategorized this as a 1967, I believe. So, I think a lot of us perceive this to be the rookie. There's a lot of slabs out there. Still awesome, pretty rare card, to get. But just be aware that this may be a 1967. I can't remember the reason why Allen changed it, and I think subsequently PSA did as well.
Actually, if you go to Cardophilic, you can probably see an explanation right on this page.
Yeah.
All right, let's move on up. All right, let's get to these Brugueras.
Yeah, I think those were good deals, actually. Yeah,
I feel like they were too. I mean, the authentic, it's obviously cut. But, these aren't super common. So,
I mean,
get them at those prices.
If you followed from a few months ago, one of the cars I did buy was that one that's the authentic. I think mine was the 3, and I paid like $900. So, half price on some of these things versus what we paid a couple months ago. Not super common, right? So I would definitely do that. Hey, go to the Zaire one down there. Zairzinho. I just like the fact he's getting some notice and people actually bought the card. I thought that was really good.
Yeah.
$270.
It's solid for,
solid, right? But he should be there. Amazing player. So I just wanted to comment. I thought that was really good. I thought this Eusebio was probably a little high for me, but then again, it's PSA. It's a PSA slab.
Yep, 6. So, I mean, getting an early-ish card in a good grade.
The Trilcos are drifting slightly lower because I sold one a 4 for $10,000 a few months ago. So you're getting it at half off there. I mean, a lot of the market's been down, so
Yep.
maybe it's not that.
And I think that's kind of niche a little bit. And I've said this before a little bit. Like, I think that a lot of people it's again, the bigger size, it's a postcard, that sort of thing. Like, I think that does limit the amount of people that are interested in it. Even though it is the earliest issue card.
And a great image, right?
Sure.
Great image, so.
All right. This was the crack.
Yeah. I had a snipe on it. Did you bid on that too?
I was going to, and then we were talking in the chat, and like somebody else was bidding on it, so I decided not to, and they ended up getting it. So
cool.
Yeah, and like a raw one of these sold for $1,500 within the last month or so.
This is a really nice copy.
Yeah,
I have a couple copies of this. I don't have any graded, and that's part of the reason why I was going after this one. But I only bid like 600 or something, so I got completely blown out of the water. But this is awesome card. I love it. It's just,
and how many of those are folded in half because it's so tall?
It's one of the ones that, even though it's oversized, it just is special.
Oh, for sure.
And
it's crack. It's South American issue. It's
cardboard.
So rare. So scarce compared to like comparable Pelés from Italy, Germany. It's just
look at the one above it. The Panini.
Yeah, like which one would you rather?
Yeah, way rather have the crack. So
yeah,
I think in retrospect, that's a killer ad, even at that price, which was more than I was willing to pay, but pretty killer ad.
Yeah, and I get the even buying the Panini. I mean, any Panini Pele is also going to be fine, but I just, as a collector, I would want something that's scarce, from and in what I would consider good condition for the issue. For the
issue, amazing. That's amazing condition for the issue.
I can't imagine you're going to find 5 of those ever graded higher than that.
Yeah, I mean those are just so good, Look at, here's how you typically see these. I don't know, maybe you can't.
It's gonna be hard to see because we're so small on the screen. But
well, anyway, it's like creased all over the place. It's like there's like glue or some residue or something on the front. I mean, this is gonna be a 1.
Yeah,
and I think most of them are, right?
Right. Yeah. I mean, yeah. All right, so scrolling up, going to skip some of these Pelés. I think for the 70 World Cup, it's a decent condition Pelé for just on, about $900.
Yeah, I think this one was, when you actually look at it, it's a solid card.
Yeah. So,
and I think
that's a fine price.
Those had been on a run, so I think there's a little softness there. I like that card as something to get.
Yeah, I think my plan is to add a few of those in the near future. So, the Monty Cruyff, I mean, you and I both agree it's one of our favorite cards. It's Cruyff's first card. Everything else is sticker, postcard, whatever else, pin. So, and it's just such a incredible design. It's just like, it's truly 70s design, and I haven't heard many people say they don't like the look of that card. So
yeah, I mean, this is a classic, for me. I think in BGS 5.5, I felt like this was a right price. Thinking about it a little more, probably could have gone a little more north. I think it's just a great card to get, and much rarer. We were talking in the Discord today, and I was saying, hey, what are the pop reports? It's not super common card. So,
and to get it without paper loss is the big thing.
Yeah. Now where that one may have been, incrementally a bargain, the next one, the FKS one, I thought went for way higher than I would have expected.
Yeah, those are pretty common. It's raw ones you can get for pretty inexpensive. I've seen them sell for, $30, $40.
I was gonna say I wouldn't pay more than $50 for a raw one. Okay, now you got the grading, and I think I have some that came back 2, 3, 4. So maybe it's a higher grade issue, but 500 seems incredibly strong.
Yep. Yep. And 2 years from now, we're going to look back and laugh at that comment we just made.
Yeah. Well, we will have deleted the video.
Yeah. We'll delete that 10 seconds of saying, yeah, we're only going to pay 30, 40, 50 bucks for it. These World Cup stars, those are one of the more common sets from the 70s. But I mean, to buy stars like Dalglish for a 9 for 20 bucks, like why not? Right?
Yeah,
like,
I mean, it's cheaper than the grading, and it's a star, and it's in a 9. So why not?
So yeah, I mean, I can see buying these. I mean, because everything's gonna get pulled up. I mean, these Cruyffs were selling for a ton even 2 months ago. So I'm totally fine adding those, but I'm not going out of my way to buy them, I guess. So, and I'm not going to buy them and grade them and hope, So, this was an interesting one.
That's my slab from years ago. They misgraded this. They put it as a 1974. It irritated the hell out of me because it's the 1990s.
Yeah.
So I sold it for like 20 bucks. Oh,
that's right.
Yeah, and it's they have it as a gem mint, and it just bothered me. And SGC wasn't going to change the slab, so I'm like, all right, I just don't want this thing in my collection because they irritate me.
I didn't even realize that was a story. So
yeah, so it's just completely terrible slab. Not,
thankfully, it only sold for 81 bucks.
Yeah,
so.
I would be concerned if somebody actually paid, $500 for that thing.
Yeah. All right, Sportcaster Maradona.
Yeah, and those have generally been super cheap. What did you think about the? I thought the Zico was a pretty solid result. Now 7's tough to get in that, but I still thought that was a solid result.
Yeah, I mean, for it being a 78, and it not being a Brazilian issue or a South American issue, a 7 is kind of what I would expect to be like a decent copy from that year. So, yeah, that's a decent result for sure.
And then Maradona, even in a 2, here nearly clipped $4,000 again.
Yeah.
I'm not. See. I think what you get if you kind of listen to us, there's some stuff that's still strong and getting stronger and has momentum underneath some of the headline-ish stuff and Messi rookies, Ronaldo rookies, modern. So I again, from my vantage point, I just feel like generally there's going to be ups and downs in every player cards, but this feels like a good time still.
Yep. This for 2,700.
Again, solid.
Yeah, I think it's solid. I mean, maybe I'm just not knowledgeable of. I don't pay a ton of attention to the Maradonas. That aren't like the 77 or the 78.
It's a good
the one
result.
We just talked about, that one for $4,000. So
very good result, I'd say.
Yeah. So
all of those wonders, I think, went pretty cheap given the grades. Hey, good for the people that bought them, I think.
Yeah, I mean, in 10 years, that's going to look incredible. Socrates for $100. I mean, why not? Graded.
Yeah, why not?
Yep.
Graded. These Maradonas, I think, fine. $200-$300. Fine.
Yeah.
This is where you're going to get to the 9.5, I think. On the Maradonas, it sells for $20,000. I think the 8 or the 9 sold for like $5,000.
So there was an 8 that sold for 61, an 8.5 that sold for 52. BVG. I'm not seeing the other one yet. This
maybe that was Golden Son.
It could have been, or maybe it's higher up. For some
I
reason.
got that Lothar. Yeah.
You got this.
Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, that's a good deal. I mean, that's what we're paying, 80 to 100 raw.
So now it's graded, and a 6 is fine. I mean,
yeah.
7 would be nice, but no headache on the grading.
Yeah. So here's our Rothmans, our buddies. Nice to see that people aren't paying much.
I was just gonna say, people are listening to it to us, or at least figuring it out on their own.
Yeah, that was nice to see.
Yeah.
Maldini 1200.
These gray ones are rarer than people think, and an 8.5 is very high grade for this. So I didn't have a big problem with this, and I was an underbidder on the Baggio there, the double Baggio.
Yeah, the Edis.
Yeah, just because I didn't have the double. So somebody got that. And then the next closest bidder to us was like 600. So
it was just two people battling. Yeah.
Yeah. I mean, or there were other bids that came in and they were just less.
Oh, yeah, that's valid.
They didn't print, right? But I like that card because it's an air card if you want to, show people.
Yeah. Oh, yeah. And so the names, the photos are flipped with the players' names.
Yeah. So that's actually really fun.
So of course, Baggio's got the glorious locks, and the name underneath it is Manelli. So
yeah. So I always wanted an uncut one of these, and here one was 8.5, so I was willing to go for it, but in the end, somebody else was willing to bid more.
Yeah, they just wanted a bit more. A lot of these 80s cards look good for me price wise. I mean,
did you see the 9? The
Maldini,
so,
2800.
2800. That's a big price for him, but it's really, really high grade, and it was a great looking sticker.
For sure. I love that design. That's one of my favorites.
It is one of the more common of his rookies, though. So just keep that in mind
doubt.
If you're going after one. It is probably the most common. And see a Klinsmann in Ford go for nearly 400 shocked me.
Yeah, everybody must be watching ESPN FC because he's guesting there now and again.
Yeah, I was just gonna say, listen to his comments about. I think he was talking about how Pirlo benched Ronaldo, and it was really funny. And I'm like, oh man,
he's pretty easy going because those guys give him a hard time sometimes. But
it's all good. So I thought the 80s stuff looked good, feels strong.
Yeah. I mean, his questions of sport are like, I
stay away.
It's a card game.
I stay absolutely away from those.
I did buy Senna. So.
Oh, that's good. Yeah, I mean, when there's nothing of a Formula One, you got to get what you can get.
Yeah. For that early of his career, like I'm not spending the crazy money on his real stuff. So. These Uniao, those are tough cards to get, or stickers to get, like to get that for $50. I think that was a great deal, in my opinion, to have it graded
and graded already. I think now I have recalibrated like what the cost is going to be to get it slabbed, right?
Yeah. So there might be some deals over the next 2, 3, 4 months, taking that into account. If you can wrap your head around that, and there's a card or sticker that you want, and you see that it's graded, and you might be able to get it like some bit of a discount at this point. So
yeah,
I'm gonna skip a lot of these.
I mean, none of these particularly jumped out at me as being
egregious one way or the other.
Yeah, it was like, okay, it feels like market. Maybe that Van Basten 90 was 200, seemed kind of high, but it wasn't 8, so you can get over it. I thought the Batistuta at 440 was a decent price, but also a decent deal because it comes in an 8, and 8s aren't that easy.
Yep. Yeah, that's another amount. I think a member bought that as well of the Discord. So he says he keeps buying every time it comes up for sale, so he's gonna have like a
lot.
Yeah, he's gonna have the market on those Batistutas.
So the second year Zidane for 660, I felt was good and mid grade.
Yeah, I like that card. That's actually, I prefer that card if I wasn't taking into account rookie and that sort of thing. Like I just love this. Yeah, this is Zidane was pretty solid too,
Very. I think I was very surprised at how strong that was. Again, just we keep coming back to it. There's a lot of strong results in this.
3 Ronaldo for 1,000, like
feels good. I mean, I'm not surprised, and I think that card needs to get the respect it deserves.
This guy looked a little light to me.
Only because it's such a bad cut.
Yeah, I mean, it's horrible.
Scared so many people away. And if you wanted to have a better comparison, Um, Golden had one, and I'll tell you while you keep to go through where that went. Golden had a 6, and it went for 5,500.
Okay.
And
So
without qualifiers.
I mean, it looks like it could be a deal, just if you're able to tolerate that miscut.
Yeah.
Yeah,
I mean, it's fine. I mean, none of the stuff surprised me as super cheap or super expensive. All through the what I'll call the late '90s runs. I think that the David Beckham's have softened a bit, which they probably needed to based on the quality of the player instead of the hype. The PSA 9 Javi for 1,000 seems a little high to me, but that I just maybe
it's a 9, so
yeah, and I may just be polluted by my previous thing and the Eto.
Yeah, that
seems high.
That was like a. When I saw that with that, and I have a raw one, and I should probably not say that right now, but I have a raw one online right now for $124 or something like that. So, or maybe 174. But
yeah, I mean, I think that was high for an 8. Now, those I don't think there are many graded higher than 8, so that may be a condition thing.
Yeah, I to be honest, I haven't looked at that to see if that's the case. But they didn't put anything in the description to say that. So
yeah.
I mean, then we start getting into 2000s, and that's Iniesta 8 for 4 something. That's dropped a bit, I think.
Yeah, I'd say that's dropped quite a bit.
Yeah.
Actually, I think that's relative to everything else in the market. That's probably a bargain now.
But that shot up a lot. Like that was one of those cards that was just like, was going up like a missile, like a lot of other cards.
We were talking, it was like $2,000. We're like, don't do that, guys. You don't need to do that because a lot of these will come to the market, and they have.
Yep. So, I mean, the Ronaldo 7 sticker. I mean,
that's probably okay. I mean, the 10 went for what, 120 grand or something. So, you can't. It's one of his 2 rookies.
I mean, I think it feels like a deal.
I like the sticker. I have nothing bad to say about it. I like it. I think it's a good. There's only 2 Ronaldo rookies, so whereas Messi's got like 8. You either go with this or the Mega Crack. So I think that's finally being realized in the market.
Was there anything else?
Not for me, man. I mean,
the Messi's. Was there anything that you noticed?
I mean, the 9 Mundi Chromo went for like $5 grand Messi, which I think's a little light because those are so hard to get the centering.
Yeah, those getting high grades are definitely where you should be with the Mundi Chromos.
Yeah, so that was felt a little light. The sticker has really come back to earth a bit.
Yeah, this 8, what I felt like was this 8 and 9. I felt like those were total bargains.
Yes, I think they're going to end up being total bargains. The pops were just not there. I don't like the way BGS does the stickers, but certainly at $5 grand for a BGS 9, I think that's going to end up being a great price. Even the real PSA 9, which I think is right on top of this one that you're showing on the screen,
at
13. I mean, that was 35 grand 2 months ago. Now, is 35 grand the right price? I don't know, but it's the pop on this is so low. I think there's like 20.
Yep. So I think that whoever bought those, and I know a member bought the BGS 9. I think they're going to be very pleased with the results shortly.
I think this and the Mundi Chromos and maybe the 35 are my favorite bets on Messi outside of the 71 bits.
Yeah, the sticker's my favorite Messi, I would say. If I was going to put money into any of them. I know the market says something else, but I just, that's where I would want to put my money if I was gonna buy, a big time Messi.
And these 35s, I mean, this is shocking. So look at this, at the 35 right here, the one that sold for 1,500. No joke, I sold an 8.5 BGS for 10 grand, 45 days ago. Oh,
yeah, and I sold a 6 for $2,000, like 2 months ago. So I could get an 8 for $500
right?
less now.
Yeah. So how the mighty have fallen, right?
Yeah.
So I do think that, again, just keep letting some supply come out. I don't have a problem buying in any of these cards at these prices that are here. The PSA 9 at $4,000, and you're going to notice the ones on top actually sold in PSA 9 even higher than that 35. Now, if you looked at the card, it had some white on the corner that I didn't like. Otherwise, I would have probably bought this one.
Okay.
But just in general, I think you can be getting, if you've been waiting for a Messi rookie, I'd be trying to get one now.
Yeah, like this summer, right before any news comes of like maybe a team change, getting sold or anything like that, a transfer, then maybe or is he a free agent right now? I don't know. I can't remember.
Yeah, pick. I would say definitely be on the lookout. If it's like one of these guys that was always too expensive, and I would stretch down here because they are getting to, from my opinion, it's going to be hard to lose. Yeah, the 61,000. I mean, this was 90 a month ago, and this had really good subgrades, didn't it? This
had 10
3 9s and a 10.
Yeah.
So I think, I don't know. I'm, again, not investment advice, but just on a relative basis, I think they're starting to look good again.
Investment advice: do not buy what you see on the screen.
Yes, that is okay. That is legit investment advice. Right. I mean, look at that was kind of. At the high picture, I imagine so few people have made it through this whole video, so we can be a little silly.
I can't blame them.
But yeah, neither can I. What I'll tell, I mean, in general, what I think of this thing. Oh, here's the Lewa, right? Went for 69.
Oh yeah, okay, here it is. So yeah, 69.50. I was way off.
So what I was I honestly think the market's in a great spot. We're consolidating. We have some ups and downs. All markets do. In general, the broad breadth of things are calibrating, to my eyes, the way that they should. Things that are going up that should be going up are generally going up, and things that went up too fast are adjusting back down, and that's what markets do. So I wouldn't be scared to death of this market. In fact, on the contrary, I'd be cherry picking the opportunities. And if people listen to our premium, there's tons of opportunities all over the place that we're not even seeing it in these PWCC. A lot of people think the PWCC auctions and the golden auctions are what's out there for vintage soccer. Not the case. You're seeing 20-30% of what's out there and what has value potential in the 2, 3, 5 year potential. So I'm still totally excited about where we're going. I think we've had a natural, normal calibration, and I think that's fantastic.
I agree. And if you're in this for the long haul, this is what you want to see. You don't want to see the prices keep going up. This is an opportunity, not anything less than that in my eyes. So, keep your eye out for stuff, because you're going to be able to find some stuff that you were not able to afford
45 days ago.
Yeah, it's just crazy. So anyway, I think we rattled on for 90 minutes. I think that's solid. And thanks to everybody who watched. It looks like we kept most of them for the whole time. So appreciate you guys, and we'll talk to you in the Discord or on our next show.